Hi, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate Millionaires Power Team. In celebration of International Women's Day, we are featuring empowered women. They are the Captain Marvels of real estate who have made a big change in their life, inspiring stories that will provide value to the listeners and be able to apply this in their life. And I would like to share you the story of our guest speaker for the day. Help me spread this episode by liking, commenting, and sharing to the people that will touch their life and take the action to be the better version of themselves. So, for those who are active real estate investors, definitely they will know her, a millennial by herself, and was featured on the cover of the Toronto Star for being a millennial and building her portfolio of properties through hard work, dedication, and commitment without the help of parents or relatives. So she is also a real estate entrepreneur, a speaker, a coach, author, a co-founder of Reite Club. It's a real estate investment training and education club, and host of podcast Where Should I Invest? Sarah Larbi. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, Jenny. I'm great. How are you?
I'm okay. Good. Thank you. Let me get a flashback of how we met for the first time, right? So
Okay.
we were sitting together in a networking event. That was like, I think, 2 years ago. And we
Yeah.
kind of introduced each others. And I remember asking you that I was looking for a mortgage broker or a mortgage agent. And then we went on a street smart tour. And after that, I haven't heard from you until last year when I attended your event. And I was so grateful of what you have become. Tell me about it, Sarah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a pleasure, I guess, getting to know you and having, discussions about real estate investing with you. And thank you for everything that
It's my pleasure.
you're doing to educate people. So thank you first and foremost. Yeah. A little bit about me. I started investing in real estate about 5 years ago, so in 2013,
Mhm.
and I remember, going to the bank and realizing that I had worked for a couple of years, but really had nothing to show to my name. And so I went home that day after talking to the bank and realizing I had no assets and a bunch of liabilities,
Mhm.
and decided that I was going to research how to create wealth. And real estate kept coming over and over and over. And so I said, well, we got to buy some real estate.
Mhm.
It took me a couple years to convince my spouse to go ahead and pull the trigger, but we finally did it in 2013, scraped our pennies together and bought our first house, which was $129,000. And it
Wow.
is like the smallest house. It is still standing. It's from the 1850s. We bought what we could with the money that we had. And it got us in the game. And then
Mhm.
after that, I went to an event and somebody said, if you want to really be set in life, just buy one property a year for like 10 years. And I'm
Mhm.
like, well, we got to buy a property a year for 10 years. Apparently that's, what this guy is saying. So, so we did that the second time as well. And really, I worked, did what I could, cashed out my vacation at that point, well worth it now. And we got our second house, which was 179,000. Now, you actually can still find some cheap houses these days. This was in 2014,
Mhm.
and now, I mean, fast forward to today, I've got 9, working on my 10th, and we're trying to buy a house a year or two.
Okay.
And what we've been able to do is actually, instead of scraping our pennies together and our dollars together, and obviously as we get more experienced in our regular jobs, obviously we can negotiate our income a little bit better, but
Mhm.
we've been able to take the properties, and instead of just buying and holding, which was what we were doing in the beginning, buying, putting a tenant in, make sure it was cash flowing, we started doing what's called the BRRRR model. So when you buy a property, you're essentially renovating the property, you're renting it out, you're refinancing. When you refinance, you're able to then take out your money and repeat the process.
Mhm.
So we've been able to actually use the bank at their own game in a way where we were able to scale up using the bank's money. And that's what
Oh,
we've been doing since we started. Probably after the third house, we started doing the BRRRR method.
okay. So it was on the third house, and then a year after you start. refinancing them, or how many months would you start refinancing that existing house?
Yeah, I mean, most of them I would say would be done within the first year. We
Okay.
so one of the things that is really important is we bought all the properties in one town, and what that allowed me to be able to do is really zone in on what a good deal was, and to be able to really pick and choose the properties. And so a lot of them were actually purchased under market to begin with, which really helped. Some of them were purchased day one of being out in the market, and then just allowed us to really be able to get in. Sometimes we've bought houses where they've been up for 4 hours, and we bought it, and some of them sight unseen. Now I don't recommend that starting out, but as you get more and more comfortable, you know the streets, you have a good team on the road looking at properties for you, good realtors that are, my realtor is great because he's an investor as well. And sometimes I'll just say, hey, have you checked this property? It just came up on the market, and he'll say, yeah, I've already gone through it and it's not good for this reason, or it's good for this reason. And he'll call me, which is awesome. And sometimes I just say, hey, can you go check out this property for me? Let me know if it's worth making an offer on. And we probably bought 3 properties so far without seeing them. Conditions on, actually most of them had conditions of at least inspection, so we went to see them during the inspection, and one of them was cash, but that one was $150,000 and we wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. So
do we still have that price right now in the current market? Can you still find it?
Probably you're under about 300. You could still find something for about 250.
Okay.
And the ones under that, you're going to be doing a lot of rental work, and definitely bigger rental projects that I would want to do. Like I like doing, the kitchens, the bathrooms, the floors, a lot of the more cosmetic stuff. I try to stay away from if all the windows need to be redone, if there's a huge foundation issue, because I essentially want to be able to just renovate it enough that I can bump up the value and pull my cash back.
Okay. Is that a single family, or you're converting it to duplex?
No, they're all single families at this point, and just because they've still worked. But the next project and 2 that I'm working on is going to be the duplex conversions.
Okay, great. And then you mentioned for all those properties that you have bought, did you use a realtor on that, or you picked them by yourself?
I used a realtor on every single one.
Okay, is it the same realtor?
The first one, we actually used a realtor from where we currently live in Oakville. We didn't know any better. It is, and I should say, the reason I'm saying that is when you're buying a property as an investor and you're buying a property as a regular homeowner, it's completely different things that you want to look for. And the reason that I would also suggest that if you're going to work with a realtor, work with a local realtor. They know the market, they get off-market deals, they get pocket listings, they have opportunity to go and see these properties within the hour of them being listed. So there's a lot of benefits. So after our 3rd house, we found our realtor that's local in the area that we invest. And we've been working with his team ever since. But recently we bought a cottage Airbnb rental property in the Kawarthas. And again, like that's a different local realtor, because then we can use their team as well.
And how was the realtor help you build your portfolio? And you mentioned that it's very important that you hire a realtor that is local, that is good on the location that you are investing.
Yeah. How do they help you build well, if you've got one that's an investor, then they understand the numbers. They're able to figure out if something makes sense or not. They're able to, if you're looking to do a BRRRR or a flip, they're able to figure out what numbers you want to look for. So the ARV, what's the after repair value? What's some ideas of the reno cost? I mean, obviously you need to narrow it down and really get some quotes, but they have a better idea of that piece, because someone sends me a property, and it's one that needs renovations. My first question is, what needs to be renovated? What's the approximate cost? What's the ARV? And my expectation is that they have those in the email so that I don't have to ask those questions. But again, there's so many different realtors out there. There's great realtors that are not investors and don't work with investors. But as an investor that's looking to scale, and really grow the portfolio. I'm looking for a specific type of property, and it's going to be different than what a residential buyer is looking for.
And over the years, you have developed that relationship with the real store. Now, what are your criteria that you're looking for when you say that the house is a good investment?
I want to make sure that I can burr it so that I can get it where I'm adding some sweat equity, not my own, but managing the renovations. And then I'm going to be able to get the after repair value. And when I refinance, and this doesn't work in all markets, but when I refinance, I want the rent to be able to also cover all of my expenses on the at the end. So those are some things that I look for and in my deal. Everyone's got their own specific strategies. That's just my current strategy at this point.
And that works for you, right?
Yeah.
And what are you looking for the cost when you do the burr? So are you have a specific budget that you're looking for, especially for a single family? Are you looking for a range of between like 30 to 50 or less than that?
For renovations?
Yep.
It's not so much about whether it's 30 to 50 or 20 to 30 or 50 to 60. It's more of, is the house priced well enough that plus the rental costs, do I have a buffer built in to get to my ARV? What does my profit look like? And then it's also, when I refinance and I hold it, what does my cash flow look like? So, here's an example. Some properties might be great as flips, but if you're going to buy them at 500,000, you're going to put 100,000 and you're going to refinance them at $1 million. Hey, that's great. But if it's a single family property, you're paying hundreds of dollars a month for somebody to live there. So even though that could be good on paper as a flip, it's not a good hold afterwards. So that's definitely an important piece to consider.
Yep. And then what are the flags that you should be avoided when you're buying an investment property?
What are the what?
What are the flags? What are the things that you would walk away from when you're buying an investment property?
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally do foundation issues. Like if there's big foundation or structural issues, I like the cosmetic renos. Like I like the ones that are dated but have some good bones.
Okay.
Electrical knob and tube. I mean, you can always fix that. I mean, it's all really based on the numbers and what makes sense. What makes sense to buy and what is it going to make? Because if I'm buying a house for $300,000 and I'm going to need to put $50,000, but it's only going to be worth $340 or $350,
yep.
I probably won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everyone. But again, everyone's got their different criteria. I want to be able to refinance. I want to be able to rent it, cash flow, but still have some profit made at the end as well.
Okay. And then what are the things that you have done before that you really wanted to do when you're just starting up as an investor? Do you have any that you started now?
Well, what I wanted to do, I think I just wanted to own a cottage before I was 55.
Oh, you own now, so
yeah, I know,
right? And maybe you can own a building. Are you planning to buy one?
Yeah. At some point, I actually wouldn't mind a second and third cottage. I like the Airbnb piece.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really cool about this cottage is I was refinancing one of my properties and I made $100,000 and I took that money and I used that as a down payment and I'm renting out my cottage. So now I'm covering my costs. I'm going to the cottage in between my renters and my renters are covering the costs. So I've got an awesome cottage that's on the lake and I can enjoy, of course there's pros and cons to renting it. I get it, but it is pretty cool to own it at 34.
Yeah. Plus, that's the good thing of having a cottage and you have it as an Airbnb, because when there's no customers there, you can just sneak in there and then take a pic, enjoy the view, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So for me, it's not about real estate as much as it is about the lifestyle that it can bring you and the freedom that it can bring you over time. It's not like, tomorrow you start today and tomorrow you're going to be rich and retired. It's definitely a slow game, but I do it for the freedom. I do it for the time freedom and to be able to create the life that I am going to want to live with a few years of sacrifice.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's definitely worth it. And do I need to have 10 buildings? Probably not.
Mhm.
You know, I've got a certain cash flow number in my mind or a certain income number in my mind. And once I get to that, then, you know, I've accomplished my goals, and I'm going to take my time, because time is so limited.
Mhm.
And I'm going to do what I truly want to do with my time, where I want, with who I want, how I want, and enjoy myself.
Exactly, that's a life. And you have fulfilled it at such a young age. Remember, you're the successful millennials, what they call, and they know you all over because of your podcast. And they do follow you a lot. Like you're I think you're in the top 10 of most likely, like, heard podcast in iTunes and other platform there. And I'm so happy, like I'd met you way back before, and I'm so happy as well too that I met you again. What you become. I'm so grateful for that. So
Thank you.
now for the second segment that I have, this is the fun part. It's called the 60-second talk. How it
Okay.
works? How it works is I will ask you two preferences, and you will have to choose which one of those you like. Okay, so
Okay.
it would be like 60 seconds until the time runs out. So I will just put on my computer and time it on at 60 seconds. Okay, time starts now. Turnkey or fixer upper?
Fixer upper.
Money partner or expert partner?
Expert partner.
Wealth or health?
Health.
Investor or agent?
Investor.
Cash flow or appreciation?
That's a really tough one. I'm going to say both.
Residential or commercial?
Residential.
Single family or multifamily?
Both are great.
Flip houses or wholesale?
Wholesale or flip? Is that it? Or hold?
Uh, Flip houses or wholesale?
Flip.
Hamilton or St. Catharines?
Hamilton.
Hamilton or Brantford?
Brantford.
Cottage or hotel?
The what?
Cottage or hotel?
Cottage.
Tiny homes or RV?
Tiny homes.
Okay, last one. 10plex or 6plex?
10plex.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Time's up. That's so fun.
Yeah,
Now,
I
where
know.
can we find you, Sarah?
What did what?
Where they can find you or reach you? I know you have a
So,
show.
yeah, so my website is sarahlarbi.com, and they can see my podcast there or on iTunes. I actually have two podcasts. One is called Where Should I Invest?
Okay.
And one we just recently launched also in the top podcasts, which is called the Reite Club podcast.
Wow.
And Jenny, for your guests, if anybody has not been to the Reite Club, they can send me an email and just mention your name or the show that we've been doing, and I will have them come out as my free guest at an event of their choice, one of the evening events. So they can email me, which is Sarah, SARAH, at sarahlarbi.com. And they can reach me that way, or Investor Sarah Larbi on Instagram.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Thank you, Sarah, for having you as our guest for the Real Estate Power Team. And may you have abundance in your life. And I'm so happy and grateful to have you here in the show. Thank you. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Thanks very much to you too. Bye.
Bye.